It's that time of the season now, and as the season has come to an end, and obviously we've only got playoff games to go, but as the official campaign, the 46 game season has come to a close, we are going to be starting to review a few aspects in League Two. Starting off, we're going through each League Two's player of the season. There were some difficult choices in here, some real top quality players at this level, and yeah, we're going through each team alphabetical order. So let's get into it. Starting off with Accrington Stanley, and I've chosen Jack Nolan. Obviously, he's at my former side, Walsall. I've been really impressed with Jack Nolan this season. Not just his output, I think his overall play. He's really grown as a player, and it shows. Walsall brought him when he was about 18, 19. It showed he has matured now as a player. He's got himself 17 goals, 8 assists for a team who finished 17th in League Two. Is pretty good. I think Acton have offered him a new deal. It'd be interesting what he decides to do in the summer, because I think he's a real good player and I can see a few teams coming in for him. So for Accrington Stanley, I've gone for Jack Nolan. For AFC Wimbledon, I've gone for Omar Bougil. I've been really impressed with him again. Another player that's been really good for their team. I think, I watched him on Saturday when Wimbledon bet us 5-1, and I was really impressed with his overall play. I'm not just saying it because he scored a hat-trick. If you look at his stats over the season, 13 goals, 5 assists, a real good season. I think he's an all-round real good striker for League Two. He's really good with his feet. His hold-up play is really good, and I think his aerial play in the box is pretty good. And he's been probably Wimbledon's most consistent player this season, so I'm going to go for him. For Barrow, just before we pick who I've chose, little shout out to Kian Spence. I think he's really grown as a player this season in the midfield. But I'm going to go with George Ray at the back. I think he's been really influential in the way Barrow play. He's a real good defender. They've got quite a good defence. I think Barrow, a good back three of James Chester, George Ray, and Noel Canavan, and a real experienced back three. And it just shapes them up to header play really. 14 clean sheets, and he has been a real influential player for Barrow. Probably a real good consistent player for Barrow. Just missing out on the playoffs in the end. But I think he's probably just edged it in front of Kian Spence, and I'm going to go with George Ray. Bradford City, and I think he actually won the official one for Bradford City's awards, so I'm going to go with Brad Halliday. I've been impressed with Brad Halliday, what I've seen this season. I think he's a real good all-round right back / right wing back. He offers you everything that you need in that position, in that department. He's really good defensively, which you got to get spot on first for a full back or wing back before he can go and have the right to attack. And he's looked really good going forward. He's dribbling been excellent. I thought he was really good when he come to the Bescott. Put some really good crosses in for Andy Cook. Plays off his strengths. He knows his other players strengths, how to get the best out of him, and he's been really consistent for Bradford this season. And yeah, I think he's the rightful winner for Bradford. Colchester, and I've gone for Arthur Reed. Whenever I've watched this lad play, I've been really impressed with him. At the age of 24, he's been a real good player for Colchester. He's been probably a shining light in a poor side. They've been fighting for relegation this season. I think it shows you, it's a little stat I looked up. I think he's got an 82% passing accuracy this season. I think that tells you everything, what type of player he is. He dictates the tempo and the style that Colchester want to play, and I think he's going to be a big asset for Colchester next season under the Cowleys. But I do think there'll be a couple of teams coming around sniffing for him, because I think he's been a real good player for Col U this season. Like Barrow with this one, it's quite a difficult one for Crawley. A little shout out to Cloddy Lolos. I think he's had a really good season, stepping up to the EFL, signing from Oxford City. And, when I've watched him, the highlights I've watched him, whenever I've watched him in person, I think he shows real good technical promise and good technical ability on the ball. He's probably Crawley's most creative player in that team, and he'd give him a little shout out because I think he's going to be a real good player for Crawley. But the player I've picked for Crawley's player this season, I'm going to go with Danilo Orsi. I'm really impressed with this lad up top. Whenever I've watched him when he was at Grimsby, he's a handful. Scored 19 goals this season for Crawley. Pushed them up into the playoffs. It's been a real team effort, and he suits into that team effort ethos really. His off the ball work is outstanding. His pressing, his movement, he runs in behind to create spaces for the players like Liam Kelly in there, Lolos, really good. Been impressed with Orsi this season. I think Grimsby are kicking themselves letting him go. I think there's a toss-up for two players for Crewe Alexandra, but I've gone with Rio Adebisi. I think there's valuable shouts for Mickey Demetriou. I think he's been outstanding since he's joined Crewe in the summer, but been really impressed with Adebisi this season. The 23-year-old, been really good from left back. He's really good going forward. 7 assists this season. He's solid defensively as well, and I've been really impressed with Adebisi this season. He's kicked on as a player, come through his Crewe's academy, and he's got a bright future ahead of him. So yeah, I'm going to go with Rio Adebisi for Crewe's player of the season. For Doncaster Rovers, I'm going to go with Owen Bailey. I thought he's probably Doncaster's best player when I've watched him this season, and I think the stats don't lie. He's Mr. Consistent for Doncaster this season. He's played 46 out of 46 games. He's played in a variety of positions, centre back, right back, in the 6 or the 8. He can do a job all over the park. He's versatile, he's consistent, and he has been Doncaster's best player over the season. He's really stepped up to the EFL as well, joining from Gateshead in the summer, and he shows real promise for Doncaster as they, make a really good second half of the season push, and they're actually in the playoffs now. So yeah, he's been a real vital part of that. It's a tough one for Forest Green. It's a season for them to forget this season. Back-to-back relegations, rock bottom of League Two. They're going to have a right clear out in the summer, I think. But I think the best player Forest Green this season has been Kyle McAllister. I think he's the only player really to show any sort of quality really whenever he plays. I think he's stats this season, 7 goals, 6 assists. Off the right-hand side, when he's on it, I think he can show some real good promising moments. And yeah, real good player, and I think he'll be in League 2 next season, so I'm going to go with Carl McAllister. For Gillingham, I've gone for Connor Masterson. Yeah, he had a previous loan spell with the Gills last season, and he was really good in that spell on loan from QPR. Then they've brought him in the summer, and I think he hasn't failed to disappoint really. He's been a rock at the back for Gillingham. He does his job first and foremost, defending. He's a real solid defender really. And I think his distribution on the ball, since Stephen Clements has come in, I know he's just been sacked, but the style of play he likes to play, expansive football. He does suit that style of play that was deployed this season, especially in the second half. And he's a real good distributor of the ball, solid defender. He's a handful of set pieces, and I think he has been Gillingham's best player. Grimsby Town, I think without doubt has to be Danny Rose. What a striker. I really do rate Danny Rose. It's just his overall play is outstanding really. 13 goals this season, but I don't think that's the full story of his abilities really. And I think without Danny Rose this season, I think Grimsby would have been in further trouble. He's off the ball work, a bit like Danilo Orsi, a really good presser from the front. Promise you 110% each game. And he's one of them strikers, he's in the right position at the right time to scored some vital goals for the Mariners to keep him up this season. It has to be Danny Rose. Harrogate Town, I've gone with the winger, the experienced man who's been there for a while, George Thompson. Yeah, real good season for George Thompson. I think it's his best goal scoring record this season since he's joined Harrogate in 2017. 18 goals, 8 assists. Like I said, he's an experienced winger. I think technically he's really good, and he'll always give the opposition some problems to deal with. A real good winger, and I think his goal contributions have really meant Harrogate to have a really good finish this season, mid-table, and he's been a real good part of that. For Mansfield Town, I've gone with Davis Keeler-Dunn. What an incredible footballer he is for Mansfield. He's been a vital part of Mansfield getting promoted in the end really. His best goal scoring season in his professional career, 22 goals, also to add with 10 assists. He's been a real top player for Mansfield, and I think he has to be in with a shout for player of the season this season. Really good player. He can play in a variety of positions. He can play in the 10, or he can push forward as part of the front two for Mansfield. He's technically really good. He's a joy to watch really, if you're a Mansfield fan, and yeah, no doubt him for player of the season. MK Dons, I've gone with Alex Gilby. I think there'll be shouts in there for Max Dean, their top goal scorer, and he has had an excellent season, but I think over a course of a season, I'm going to go for Alex Gilbey. Whenever he's been captain, he's led by example really with his quality attributes. He's a devastating player really for the opposition. He can make them killer passes, but in between the lines to get MK Dons nice and wide. He's technically really good. He's up there, like I said, one of the best players in this league. He's output this season 13 goals, 10 assists, I believe. I'm going to go with Alex Gilbey. Morecambe, I've gone with Joel Senior. The right back joined from Carlisle in the summer, and I think he's been a solid addition for Morecambe. It's been a real tough season for Morecambe, more off the field, and that has to be sorted really. We can't be seeing teams going through that. Owners at Morecambe need to get out of the club. Not paying wages on time isn't good enough, but put that to a side. On the footballing matter, I think Joel Senior has been probably Morecambe's most consistent player this season from right back. I think they had some really good players at the start of the season. I think losing Michael Mellon and Mayer was a big blow for him. But from a whole season point of view, I think Joel Senior's had a season he can be proud of, and credit to him. Newport County, without doubt, has to be Will Evans. What a season for the Welshman. Last season is his first season in the EFL from joining from Ballatown. And I think, numbers weren't there really. I think he was played in a couple of positions at times on the wing back. Wasn't really the vocal point for Newport, the man they relied on. But this season, he has been the main man for the Exiles really. 21 goals for a team that finished, lower mid-table this season. He's outstanding too, and I think his overall play is a joy to watch. He's dribbling, he can get past 2 or 3 defenders and get his pass off, shot off, whatever really. His hold-up play is good, he's a nuisance, and I can't see him being at Newport in the summer. I think a team high up the divisions, especially in League One, will be looking at him. Real top player. Notts County, then there is a shout for a couple of players here. I think Jody Jones has had a real good season. He's been troubled with injury throughout his career at Coventry, but he's really pushed on this season. 20 plus assists. I think he broke a record for the most assists in a League Two season. So credit to him. Been impressed with Danny Crowley as well, but I think it has to go to one man, Macaulay Langstaff. 28 goals this season for the Magpies, and he's been outstanding for Notts County. He scored 42 goals in the National League last season, and to step up into his first time in the EFL and just to score just under 30 goals is a credit to him. And I can't see another player I can't see being at their club in the summer. Notts County, he's a real good player, and real good number 9. Salford City, and I've just announced this man is leaving in the summer. I think Matt Smith, I know it's another striker, but without Matt Smith's goals this season, I think Salford would have actually been in and around the relegation places. His goals have been vital, 24 goals, and he hasn't lost it really throughout his whole career. He's a striker that's, he's not going to press from the front, he's not going to run in the channels, but what you are guaranteed with Matt Smith, if you put a ball into the box, 9 times out of 10 he's going to get his head on it, his foot on it, and it's in the back of the net. He's a quality striker, Matt Smith, and he'll probably play at a decent level for a couple more seasons. He knows where the back of the net is. Stockport County, and I think this was a tough one for me. I think obviously they won the league, but there's been players all over the park really that have contributed for different matters this season. From your Anthony Sarcevic to your Isaac Olafe up front. But I've been impressed again with Fraser Horsfall. I'm going to give it to him. You can't look past him really. I think he's proven himself at this level for many seasons now. He did it at Northampton, and he's rewarded with his move to Stockport, and he's been an ever-present for them really throughout the last 2 seasons. A real solid player at the back. He does his defending really well to start off with. I think he's won 68% of his duels this season. And then playing out from the back, his distribution of the ball is solid as well. 80% passing accuracy is really good for a defender, and like I said, can't look past Fraser Horsfall. Sutton United, and I've gone with the loanee from Burton Albion, Charlie Lakin. What a season he's had. Well, I should say second half of the season really. He only joined Sutton in January after having a previous loan spell with a fellow League Two side, Wimbledon, in the first half of the season, but he has been really influential for Sutton second half of the season. He has given really a small chance for them staying up really. 8 goals, 5 assists tells the story. He really dictates the midfield whenever he's in there. He's a real good technical player, and yeah, we'll see where he ends up in the summer. Will Burton actually play him this season, or can we see him moving to another League Two side? Swindon Town, and I've gone with a player that's not actually there at the moment. It's current MK Dons player, Dan Kemp. What a player. I can't speak highly enough of this man really. I think he's technically one of the best players in this league, and with his loan spell at Swindon, you know, he gave him the chance of staying up really. I think without Dan Kemp's and Jake Young's contribution in the first half of the season for the Robins, I genuinely think they would have been relegated. You know, 27 appearances, 16 goals, 8 assists. You know, it just tells you everything about Dan Kemp's contributions to Swindon. Yeah, he's superb. He gave, like I said, gave Swindon a chance of staying up really with them goals and assists. Real top player, doesn't really get much of a chance at MK Dons. I don't think he's appreciated enough there. And I'd have him at Walsall any day of the week, but we'll see what happens in the summer with him. Tranmere Rovers, and I've gone with the tricky winger, Rob Apter. What a season he's had. The 21-year-old on loan from Blackpool, 18 goal contributions in a mediocre Tranmere side. Really good output from him, and I think he'll be knocking on the door at Blackpool next season for a start. Yeah, he's a really good winger. He's not scared to take on a player, which is good to see. You know, with the modern day wingers, we don't see many of that much nowadays, really, do we? So it's good to see a player taking on the opposition defenders, and he does that really well. He's got a wand of a left foot, and he's been a quality player for Tranmere this season. My side, Walsall. You could have had a couple of shouts here. You know, Freddie Draper's contribution at the start of the season shouldn't go unnoticed. Isaac Hutchinson, you know, has had a really good season in terms of numbers. But I've gone for Liam Gordon, who I actually voted for player of the season. I think he's just been the most consistent player we've had this season. You know, I can't have lost count how many times he got the man of the match award at home. And I think he's deserved player of the season. 2 goals, 4 assists if you look at the stats side of it. But you know, just his general play is really good to watch. He gets us up the pitch really well. He's a solid defender, and most times, you know, not many things go past him. And going forward, he brings the ball forward really well, gets us up the pitch, and yeah, put some decent crosses in at times. I've been impressed with Liam Gordon. I'm glad we tied him down to a new contract. Finally, we've got Wrexham, and I've gone with Elliot Lee. Obviously, there's shouts in there for Paul Mullin, you know, with his goals scored this season, 24 goals. If we're talking over the whole season, I think Elliot Lee has been outstanding for Wrexham. Top 3 players in the league personally this season. What I've watched, he's really good. You know, technically, I think he's probably a couple of steps above this level in terms of his quality. And, you know, he dictates the play in the midfield. 46 games played this season, so he's featured in every game for the Welsh outfit. And, you know, he's been one of the main reasons why Wrexham have won back-to-back promotions and a top season from Elliot Lee. So there we have it. All the teams gone through, and I've given every team their player of the season. Let me know in the comments what you think of it, what you agree and disagree on. And yeah, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.